Good morning, it's Jim Csek with Colona Now with your Need to Know. On the phone with me, I've got Ian Burns, our managing editor. And first off, happy Halloween. Today's the big day, right? Happy Halloween for everybody. Kids are all ready to go? Ian?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And my son's costume is a spaceman, I can confirm.
There you go. We've got a spectacular picture to show you there at some point. We're almost just working at it there. There you go. Where are you guys going? How long are you going out for?
As little as possible, I would hope.
There we go.
Under an hour.
Look at that. Look at that beautiful image. We got a lot of Superman there and some witches and goblins. So I don't know how everybody's dressing their kids up today, but the weather right now looks a little gloomy out there. You can see in the background it looks a little rainy in that, but that's supposed to drop off. Jason says that's supposed to drop off around noon, and then we should get some, make sunny and cloudy breaks. So there is still a chance of rain tonight, so make sure that the kids are well prepared and warm and all that stuff. And if it's cloudy like this, really high-vis stuff makes a lot of sense, right? And Jason wants you to really frequent his Kettle Valley neighborhood there. Kettle Valley and Wilden, I hear, are two of the most favorite neighborhoods. I think Magic Estates might be right up in there too. It's great neighborhoods to kind of take your kids out into. So there you go. Halloween, the big night for the kids for sure, right? Some kind of like less good news for the Canadian economy. Looks like it's stalled and falls short of the Bank of Canada rates for sure. They had projected a growth rate of 1.5%, and it's a lot weaker than that. It's in the 1% range. So, and they even revised July downwards, right? And a lot of that, if we look at it, that manufacturing dropped right off there, and the growth is really in the public sector. In public administration, the government sector. Any thoughts on that, Ian?
It's been a similar story in BC as well, hasn't it? With the public sector. It's concerning, really, isn't it? If you understand your macroeconomics, you don't really want your public sector to be too large.
Right, and especially you want your manufacturing to be large, and it looks like manufacturing is falling off, and that's not a good sign for sure. So I would say for the Bank of Canada, a lot more rate cuts are on the way if they want to get manufacturing going, because that's capital investment, and for people that make capital investment, they need financing to be a lot more liquid.
Yeah, and another problem is if they want to invest in new technology, usually that's going to come from the US. And since the loonie is tanking right now, that's another bad sign, isn't it?
That's correct. Moving on into Russia. Look at this fine that the Russians have levied against Google for censorship. We're seeing this censorship. I don't even know how big is that number?
Well, it's undecillion. I've never heard that term before, but
so
you learn something new every day.
I don't know if Google can open an office in Russia, and even after, maybe say in 10 years, they're going to say that bill with interest is going to be enormous. That's crazy. And then Taylor Swift. People are hotel rates 10 times higher for Taylor Swift home nights. And they were warned about that with the Airbnb, all the, the new Airbnb policy. Hotels that typically would have charged $240 a night are charging up to $2,000 a night, taking advantage of the situation for sure. And again, that Airbnb legislation, the BC Hotel Association claims some credit for that Airbnb legislation, and this is what the consumer is getting for it. 10 times higher. 10 times higher. You really got to want to see Taylor Swift for that kind of money. Do you know what I mean?
Well, if you read the story, there's one woman that just says that she had to give up. She just couldn't do it, so she sold her tickets.
It's ludicrous, actually, right? That that people are paying that much to go see Taylor Swift. I know Jason is going, but
the lady that sold her tickets, now she can buy a home.
Now she can buy, pretty much. But I think at some point there has to be some reality that creeps in for people, right? And so that's just too much, right? Too much for Taylor Swift, and too much for the hotel rooms, and too much for everything, right? I mean, it's
a bit of an interesting situation, because in some areas of our economy, supply and demand is allowed to kind of just go on naturally. But in others, like rent, for example, then everybody gets very upset, and then there's government intervention. But obviously, no intervention for this kind of thing.
Yeah, and government intervention on this one actually made it worse, I would say. So. Well,
yeah, maybe the wrong kind of intervention.
So here's one that everybody wants to talk about all the time. Time to fall back. You get that hour back. A lot of people saying that we should be abolishing this. They talk about it all the time, yet we continue to do it over and over and over again. I think there's one province in Canada doesn't do it. I think that's Saskatchewan, right? Or is that Manitoba?
I think you're right. It is Saskatchewan, but there's also regions in BC, like Dawson Creek.
Oh, really?
And I think Cranbrook.
There you go. Some people have just taken it upon themselves, right? And said, no, we're not doing this anymore. So, yeah. I remember when I used to work out at the mine site that we would have actually that 2 hour difference that went from an hour difference whenever that happened. And in some other really terrible news, it continues to go on and on and on. We did it yesterday. This time it's Lillooet 20 times. I mean, this is a race for closures. Well, obviously, Oliver winning that race with 35 plus since January. Lillooet must be coming in a close second, and then the 100 Mile House, what did we say yesterday? It was like 10 or something?
Yeah, I think that was on number 11, perhaps.
So when does Adrian Dix address this? And we've reached out many times to have an interview with Adrian Dix, and they've gone unanswered, right?
Yeah, well, he did speak to Williams Lake. That's another one of the towns that's been really badly affected. But he doesn't really speak to the press about it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then Canada's bid to lure more tourists attracts international attention. I guess our peak was back in 2019 with 22 million people. And then, I don't know, with policies like the Airbnb policy in British Columbia, I don't think we're going to attract as many people as you typically would.
Yeah, wildfires as well. If you read that story from the BBC, they say that that's upsetting people, and then also a drop in Chinese tourists.
Mm-hmm. And then in Alberta, the BC judge urgently halts assisted maid procedure for a woman. And then this is a woman that just has a mental illness, isn't that correct?
That's right, yeah. And the doctor at the center of it, the doctor that's a defendant in this filing, she's quite famous. She was actually in a BBC documentary, which I think came out this year, where she claimed that she'd been responsible for, I think, more than 400 of these assisted dying deaths. But obviously it's before the court, so we don't really know anything. We don't know the facts per se, just what's claimed.
And then some good news locally. The Colona Now auction starts tomorrow, and that's a lot of local companies, so shop local, right in time for Christmas, so you can use the Colona Now auction page. If you go to Colona Now, you're going to find an auction link there, and you're going to see tons and tons of really great things from lots of local merchants, just in time for you to buy some Christmas presents. And then we have just in our AI segment, in our AI kind of technology segment, we kind of bring some things. I was talking with Kent because he's, drives a Tesla, and he was talking about the safety, and he wondered how safe these cars are. There's some of the safest cars in the world. I'm going to show you some of the crash tests from some of these. It's just almost impossible to flip these things over. You remember that clown that you used to have as a kid? You blow it up, and it had that big solid base, and you punch it, and it would just come back up. Kind of looks like with a Tesla when they try to roll it over. It just kind of wants to refuse to roll over. Look at this one, and it just won't roll over, right? So the reason for that is that they have a really heavy bottom. The battery's at the bottom of the car. That's why they typically won't tip over. And then there was this comment from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, and this is a testament to what Elon's been doing, building these huge dojo centers, building a massive computer. No, not that one. The one prior to that one. That's okay. You can go back. Anyway, he's just saying it's never been done before that one person in the world could do something in such a short period of time. We can go to this one now that this is all about Starlink. Make sure you turn the volume off on this because it's going to cause some problems with YouTube. Don't let the volume play on this one. But this John Deere tractor is driving autonomously, and the guy that was driving is just filming it instead, and it's all running off the Starlink there. So he's got his tractor out there in the field, and he made himself a little music video, but we can't play the music because obviously YouTube will ban it because it'll. But there you go. So his tractor is working it. 400 hours of hand-free harvesting. The operator says he was so bored that he made the video. Big boon for Saskatchewan and Alberta farmers, I guess, right? And I'm actually ordered a Starlink Mini, and I'm going to put it onto the roof of my Tesla on the glass, and we're going to test it out and show you how it works, because basically that'll give you coverage all across Canada, no matter where you are, with no dead spots. Interesting. And we'll let you know how that goes. In OpenAI news, the big news is that advanced voice, you can play that little clip there, you can hear the soothing voice of AI.
Hey, chat, what's a better way of saying per my last email?
You could say, as mentioned in my previous email, or as I noted earlier, to convey the same message in a slightly softer way.
Hey, chat, what's a better way?
There you go, that's enough of that anyway, but there you go. So there is an update that came down for the desktop now. So that little blue circle there, I don't know if you've used the app there, don't you, Ian? And you see the blue circle now as well?
Yep, that's right. My son calls it Moon.
Yeah, so he calls it the moon. There you go. In markets, we don't have a graphic for this. In markets, looks like everything's down today. Bitcoin down, gold down, markets down. So after all days of record-breaking days, there is a down day going here. And some other market news. Over 500 Amazon employees sent a letter to their boss there, CEO Matt Garman, urging a reversal of the new 5-day in-office mandate, saying, why should we go back to work in the office? So we're starting to see a lot of larger corporations push back and ask their employees to come back into the office. And the reason being is it's productivity, and plus the other one is that the businesses around the offices have suffered dramatically as well, because they're not using the dry cleaners, they're not using the coffee shops and all that other stuff. So it's definitely about the economy as well. And I can see the argument for the employees saying, well, like the gas, the drive, and all this other stuff too, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. You don't drive into work. You're in Ottawa there, and you've been working from home for quite a while. I guess if we forced you to drive in every day, that'd be tough, right?
Yeah, maybe if Elon Musk builds a Hyperloop, that would work.
And then we have the big talk on the internet. This is all over the internet. Donald Trump is driving a garbage truck. And you can caption that any way you want, I guess, right? So I imagine if we put that out there and ask people to caption that. But this is all from the hullabaloo over President Joe Biden saying that all Trump supporters are garbage. And then the White House has tried to walk that back and say they meant supporter, not supporters. And then so they even tried editing tweets and stuff like that. So obviously the Donald Trump campaign, not to miss an opportunity. And I think Vivek Ramaswamy was out there picking up garbage, and the garbage truck pulled in and picked up Donald Trump at the airport there. So, and then they deckled it all up. So they're playing off of the Hillary Clinton one, that when she called Donald Trump supporters deplorables. So between deplorables and garbage, I don't know. It seems like their elections definitely get pretty heated, and we saw some of that even in British Columbia with some of the rhetoric that was coming out of the NDP and the Conservatives, calling each other names, right? I mean, I think that it doesn't serve the electorate very well, for sure.
Yeah, what I find interesting about this and the McDonald's thing as well, actually, with Trump, is that maybe 10 years ago, or maybe even the last time he won, 2016, these kind of things would just be on the internet. They would just be memes. Somebody would just Photoshop Donald Trump in a garbage truck. But now, for some reason, it's reality. Like, memes have kind of it's reality now.
Especially when you have an account like Elon Musk retweeting it, or retweeting it. He has like 200 million followers. And I guess there's a big hoopla over the Joe Rogan interview with Donald Trump too, and it not being, you couldn't find it on YouTube, and it had one of the highest viewerships ever, and it was kind of like suppressed, according to Joe Rogan and them, right?
Yeah, I think they cleared that up, didn't they? But I did read that claim, yeah.
There you go. Big news, though. We're going to be doing a preview tomorrow, Renee Merrifield is going to join us, as well as Mario Canseco, the pollster. So we're going to be on at 1 o'clock. So get ready for that. It should be probably about, like 30 minutes to an hour. I don't know how we go with that, but I mean, there's lots to talk about. Mario's been doing polls out of the U.S., so we'll get to see. I don't think he has a bias, so I mean, he'll be able to tell us what he sees in the polls, because right now the polls are, depending on which polls you look at, they have either one winning or they're pretty tight, but the betting polls definitely are moving towards like a landslide victory for Donald Trump.
Yeah, very interesting. It's also worth mentioning that Mario did very well, actually, with the BC election. He came very close to getting the exact numbers.
He nailed it, basically, right? And he did say one of his big comments, which I believe to be true, is that, there was a big fumble when the handoff from Falcon to Rustad, and that one may be the one that kind of bites them in the butt there at the end of the day, right? Because, he said that they would have had a clear victory if they would have done that handoff a little better.
Yeah, a penny for his thoughts right now, Kevin Falcon, after he sacrificed everything and he didn't get the result that he wanted.
Yeah, but again, I guess you could also claim victory for the Conservatives, as they've gone from 2 seats to 43 seats. So, that's pretty monumental from a nothing party to that kind of status. So we're still reaching out to all the candidates in the Okanagan that have won, and Kent is having a tough time getting them in here. So maybe after this all cools down, we'll be able to get some dialogue with them. Any other thoughts before we call this, Ian?
No, I think, again, another comprehensive day.
There you go. That's your Need to Know with myself, Jim Csek, and Ian Burns, our managing editor, on the phone from Ottawa. He's going to be kind of like our, ever watched that show Tool Man? What was it called? Tim the Tool Man? What was that? Home Improvement, where we never got to see the neighbor, right? I forget. So
you're Tim Allen or whatever.
I forget what the neighbor's name was. Where he always went out in the backyard and was it Al? No, Al was his buddy. That was his co-host on the show. I can't remember what the guy's name in the backyard was, but we never got to see the. Just like we haven't seen you yet. We have to put your little image up in the corner, maybe like right there or something like that, right?
Good idea.
I think Ian looks a lot like Mick Jagger in his younger days. Anyway, that's your Need to Know today. I'm Jim Csek with Ian Burns, and we thank you for watching. And again, don't forget to subscribe, newsletter. Tomorrow, big day, 1 o'clock. Tune in. We'll be live on YouTube, live on X. It'll be Mario Canseco, the pollster, Renee Merrifield, and we're going to talk the U.S. election. And the U.S. election is like November 5th. It's not even a week now. It's a few days. It's a few days away, because today is the last day of October, obviously Halloween, and November 5th, big day. All right, thank you for watching Kelowna Now.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Colona Now, local, independent.